Welcome to the Irish Expat Podcast. In today's episode, we'll be covering the incredible city of Florence. We'll be chatting about why we went to Florence, why we moved to Florence, the value for money, and some overall tips from Florence residents if you're planning on visiting. Hi, I'm Jane.
I'm Corm.
And welcome to the Irish Expat Podcast. We've been on the road for 9 months travelling the lengths and breadths of Italy.
Season 1 is all about our 6-week holiday from the southern city of Naples to Lake Garda in the north.
We'll be giving our best tips and tricks and talking about our highlights and mistakes.
And how we've ended up moving to Florence.
Make sure you're subscribed, and if you like this episode, then please give us a 5-star rating. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at altlivin and find out more about us on altlivin.com. So welcome, Cormac.
How are you now, Jane?
The big Florence episode.
Oh, the big one.
You've noticed that we've had to change our intro from 6 months to 9 months.
So now, yeah, I know, yeah. It's just 9 months now, Jesus.
Yeah, so we've literally been living in Florence now for almost 8 months.
8 months, yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
Certainly does. So we're going to cover, this episode will be a little bit different from our previous ones because we just have so much more information to give. But we're just going to rattle off as much as we possibly can, and then we'll do a bonus episode at the end of the season for any updates or whatever we've missed. Sweet. So we'll talk about transport. So there's a main train station called Santa Maria Novella, and that's where everyone comes into. There's buses that bring you pretty much all around, like from all around. We use Flixbus, that's quite cheap. And then there's buses all around the city centre. And then what are the different apps that you can download for like bicycles and
you can get, well, the biggest one here is Ride Movi.
Bird, isn't there?
Bird scooters.
Scooters, yeah.
Ride Movi bikes, Ride Movi scooters, and then Bird scooters.
Yeah, so I'd say if you're handy enough on the old scooters, I definitely recommend downloading Bird, because Ride Movi, they're a bunch of scammers.
Yeah, but the Bird ones are expensive as well. They're all, just avoid scooters if you can.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Ride Movi bicycles are cheaper. The scooters are usually more expensive than the bikes to rent per minute.
Yeah, but Ride Movi tend to just take an extra little bit of €5 out of your account here and there.
Yeah, if you set up a Ride Movi, make sure you set it up with Revolut or something, because it will just keep on taking money out of your account.
It's very, very annoying.
Yes. Terribly annoying.
Yeah, don't like them at all. So I would just say, like, if you are just coming for a week or whatever, download Ride Movi, set it up with a Revolut card, and then just cancel everything, block them on your card. It's very, very annoying.
Yeah.
But Florence city centre is small enough. Like,
no, the city centre of Florence is probably one of the smallest we've been to, in the sense that you can walk everything. All the attractions are within a couple of kilometres of each other maximum.
Yeah.
So Florence is good. You don't really need to get the trams, even though the trams, unless you're flying into Florence, there's a tram directly into the train station, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But for anyone from Ireland, unfortunately, there's only connection flights to Florence. There's no direct.
Everyone flies into Pisa.
Everyone flies into Pisa, which is an hour away on the train. Yeah,
which isn't bad either.
No.
But so yeah, and then there's loads of buses that go around the city centre or go up to Fiesole, a little town on a hill nearby. So yeah, but again, if you look at the map of Florence, the city centre is sort of within a triangle.
Yeah.
So the river is at the bottom, and then there's kind of two motorways, or not even motorways, but
big main roads, viales they're called here.
Viales, yeah, and they just meet in a triangle at the top. So essentially, all the tourist stuff is in the middle of that triangle, and you can just walk it.
Yeah, there's not a lot outside.
Yeah. We'll just touch on taxis for a minute. Do you want to sing the little song there?
Oh, Grande Treno Vanta.
So
the nightmare of my nights.
Do you want to explain how to call a taxi in Florence?
So in Florence, there's either an app for one of the taxi companies, Quarante Due, or Quarante Treno Vanta. You ring them basically, and you tell them the address of where you are and how many people. And then usually you have to let them know if you'd like to pay with card in advance, because most of the taxis do have them. I'd say a very small percentage don't.
You have to also ring in Italian, or else they will just mostly hang up the phone on you.
Yeah, they accept our calls in English before, but as soon as I've started ordering them in Italian, I've been getting taxis a lot more regularly, which is very annoying, but you can. I would suggest just downloading the app.
Yes. So
For any tourists going
app
to the
taxi.
city, app taxi.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to go.
We've only downloaded it in the last kind of month or so, and it has been working a lot better for us. So,
Yeah.
and you don't need to hook up your card to it or anything. You can just
you can pay cash when you order the taxi. So that's very handy as well.
Taxis prefer cash here, by the way. So do have cash on you, and taxis are very expensive in Florence.
Also very strict. If you're too drunk, they simply will not take you.
No.
So put on your best face, lads, when you're leaving the pub.
Yeah, this is coming from Cormac working in the pub, not from us.
Yes, this is from me working in the pub and having to try and get rid of customers, and the taxi driver simply does not take them. So just be careful, put on a good act, and you'll be fine. So
I just want to touch on how central Florence is. A lot of people think that Rome is kind of the most central place to visit different cities, but I think Florence is absolutely amazing. So you can get high-speed trains, 2 hours to Milan, 2 hours to Rome, 2 hours to Venice, and then there's loads of kind of 1 hour trips that you can take. Pisa, Bologna, where else can you go?
You can go anywhere. Livorno, you can go to Lucca, you can go to San Marino, Rimini.
Yeah, there's loads of places that you can just go on like little day trips or doing one night overnight somewhere. The Cinque Terre is a little bit further, and we will say, so you have to get a 2 hour train to La Spezia, and then you get on a regional train, but oftentimes it's a regional train to La Spezia anyway, and oftentimes they're delayed or they can get very, very slow because they have to do it station by station. So just bear in mind that to get to the Cinque Terre, it's going to take you a minimum of 2 hours 40, but it took us almost 3.5 hours one day because we got delayed coming in. You do have to change in La Spezia as well to get to the Cinque Terre, but La Spezia train station is really easy to navigate. So just bear that in mind, that if you're thinking about doing a day trip to the Cinque Terre, don't stay overnight there. At least for one night, because it's just a long old day otherwise. So do you want to talk about accommodation?
So accommodation, we have used in Florence. We'd probably recommend Airbnbs more than anything. We stayed in, the first place we stayed in was a small hotel, but Airbnb style one place. It was very basic, quite cheap for the night as well, but it's just a very, very basic old hotel room that was...
Yeah, the Savonaro Hotel. We'll leave the link in the just Savonaro. I can't pronounce anything.
Savonarola Hotel.
Okay, so yeah, we stayed there, and it was super cheap. It was only like €55 a night or something. Basic, cheapest trips. So, but I just think the Airbnbs are a little bit better. And then our second time, we stayed in a hostel, and that was brilliant.
The hostel was really good fun. It had a lovely courtyard garden area with seating outside.
We had a private room.
Beers were only $1.50 or €2, I think, in the fridge and the reception.
And there was just a little cute garden out the back, so it meant that we were kind of on a money-saving expedition at that point. So it was just great to be able to sit in the city centre of Florence and have €1.50 beers.
I mean, you can't go wrong no matter where you are. But yeah, no, the accommodation, definitely recommend looking up Airbnbs in Florence. Yeah, sure. I just want to touch on as well hotels. We've had you've had a couple of experiences with people telling you in the bar, and also a friend of mine had booked a hotel. Don't stay in the Hotel Royale. That's all I can say. Friends of mine booked to stay in the hotel, and what ended up happening was they were actually put in an outbuilding about 5 minutes down the road. And when I found out, because we were on the ground, I went to check out the room, and it was just a terrible, it was just this crappy outbuilding. What was that?
Was not anything like what was advertised, and all these additional charges. If they wanted access to the pool, they'd have to pay €10. If they wanted access to this, they'd have to pay more money. So it was just, it wasn't outwardly a scam, but I felt a bit scammed by it. So they cancelled.
Yeah, it was very misleading. They were
very misleading.
When you rent a book a hotel and they put you in a different location on a different property.
Yeah, shocking.
With no bar in that other property, no access. You have to go back to the original hotel for all your daily needs.
And no room service and no nothing, even though they said that was included in the original booking. So,
and their friends that were coming were slightly older, so they wanted an all-inclusive package, not to be walking around from venue to venue. So it was a little, it felt like a little bit of a scam, even though it was just a hotel doing what a hotel does.
So definitely we've heard some incredible stories about beautiful Airbnbs with terraces and really, really central near the Duomo and near, what's that other square with the Michael Collins pub on it?
Piazza Signoria.
Yeah, so there's loads of cute Airbnbs around there. Also, in terms of accommodation, will we mention the general area that we stay in and that we currently live in and just how nice it is on this side of the Arno?
So yeah, we're just across the river, kind of just away from the centre a little bit. We're probably a 15-minute walk into the centre, maybe 20. It's an up-and-coming area that's very community-based, so we're really lucky in that sense that there's some new restaurants, some old restaurants. There's not as many tourists where we are, which is nice, but there's still obviously touristy location, very popular restaurants that people come over to see. We're not far from one that Anthony Bourdain famously visited before he died. So our area is kind of up and coming and unique.
Yeah, so I would say if there are cheaper options south of the Arno, definitely around the Santo Spirito area even, that's a really, really fun, we'll talk about that a little bit more in our fun section, but don't be nervous about staying on the south side because...
No, you're not far away at all from anything because even if you stay around Torquato Tasso, where we are, or Porta San Frediano, the areas there are absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
And, you know, the restaurants and the cafes are very local based, so the prices are very good.
Yeah, way cheaper.
Way cheaper over here. Yeah, there's some bars that are very, very, very affordable. We're near a famous Circolo, which is a community-run place, a garden bar that has very cheap prices. So, yeah, have a little look just out of the river in Florence for accommodation. The location here can be very suitable for people just looking for a quieter, more relaxing time, orientated around kind of nice food, good drinks at a slightly better value than the centre, obviously.
Yeah. So now we move on to fun. So we've got, we'll talk through them as quickly as we can.
I noticed that your number one fun activity is the most expensive coffee we ever buy in Florence.
I know. I just wanted to...
hilarious.
So again, you know, we're obviously on a pretty tight budget, but there is one place that I would highly recommend if you want to just splurge that little bit. And it is going for a coffee, not a drink, a coffee at the rooftop cafe / bar in the Excelsior Hotel. It has a phenomenal 360 view of the city. I think it's just one of the most beautiful things you could do, like even on your first day in Florence, is just go up there and have a coffee. I will say,
make you feel like home because the cappuccino will cost you €6.
Yeah.
On a taste of Ireland, lad. It's €6 for a coffee.
So the way that we break it down in our head, we only do it like once every couple of weeks or if we have visitors coming over, but it's €6 for a coffee each. So we kind of say that it's €2 for the coffee, €2 for the free biscuits that you get, and €2 for the view. So that's how we kind of justify it in our heads because it is absolutely stunning.
Well, we've been very lucky because I know a lot of people are the same. You look up at the top of a fancy hotel, you see a roof bar, you say, oh God, no, prices are going to be insane. They are for drinks up there, but for the view and every time we've gone up there, it's been really quiet. There hasn't been many people around. I think people are slightly intimidated, which is completely fair. But that's why we love it so much. Even for the price for €6, you kind of get that peace and quiet, your 360 view of the city, and then your little biscuits. And really, really, really good service.
Yeah, really good service.
If you're just looking for that coffee with a little touch of just kind of premier service, the Western Excelsior is worth it, 100%. Also,
if you wanted to go for a sunset drink, they do kind of packages. It's €38 and you get a drink and you get access to a kind of little food. They give like you little appetizers and stuff, and that's €38. But I think the best value for money is actually if there was two couples and you went up and a bottle of Prosecco is €40. So tenner a head, you get your glass of Prosecco and you're there to watch the sunset. I think is absolutely fine for the view.
So another great view of the city, apart from the hotel, that a lot of people go to is Piazza Michelangelo. It's a walled garden area just south of the bank of the Arno, up on one of the hills. So you get a lovely view of the entire city centre. Basically, during the summer, every sunset, people go up there. There's little vendors that sell beer, different alcohol. There's also music a lot of the times. And then there's a huge staired access that people just use as a seating area for viewing. So you can just look over the entire city. You're kind of lined up perfectly with the river, so you can see the Ponte Vecchio bridge, and the sun usually comes down behind it. So the view up there in the evening time is absolutely stunning. We've witnessed people go up with picnics, people go up with Prosecco, with beers. everything. And
Yeah.
it's
There's always brides up there getting their photographs taken.
Yeah.
There's one crazy guy who's always there kind of amping up the crowd and singing and dancing around. You'll probably see a proposal or two while you're up there as well.
Some of them could be real, some of them could be fake.
Yeah. But it's a great, I find that it's like, you know, it's about 20% Florentines and then 80% tourists. You can tell the Florentines because they have their cute little picnic baskets and their freezer bags and all their stuff in it. They're prepped.
Tell the tourists with their 1.5 litres of red wine that they want for about 4-year-old, 5-year-old.
But I think it's a really romantic place, and I think that's where we kind of decided, let's move here. It was so beautiful.
Well, I recommend it if anyone's just looking to meet people. Everyone up on the stairs, usually, like when we were there, we met some Australians, some Americans. It's a kind of good meeting place to chat. Everyone kind of leaves the hill at the same time. Now, they have a nightclub at the top of Piazza Michelangelo, which is very expensive.
Yes.
So, people do tend to stay up there for sunset. They go into the nightclub. Other people tend to walk down the hill just after dusk.
But you'll definitely meet people up there, and people are up for chatting and getting to know each other. So if you're a solo traveler, I'd highly recommend
going up. Yeah, to meet people, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I will start the next one, which is Finnegan's Irish Pub.
Via
Sangalo. So it's it's kind of the northernmost tip of the city. This is where Cormac works, so please come and say hello to him.
But we'll get you all a lovely pint, don't worry, lads.
All a lovely pint, yeah. But Finnegan's is great in terms of if you are looking to watch the football, if you're looking, if there's an Irish GAA match you want to watch. I remember going in for the GAA final and I ended up meeting 2 people from Galway that I actually knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, loads of Irish people go there, and I think it's the most authentic Irish pub in Florence. But I'll let you jump in a little bit here.
Well, I don't want to come across as biased now trying to get people into the pub we're working. But for me personally, I think it's the most authentic traditional pub abroad. It's ran by basically 4 guys. One of them is from Belfast, one is Scottish, and 2 others are Italian. So the Scottish owner is the manager operator of the pub here. So it has a really nice authentic feel because we have like a massive selection of Scotch, whiskey, Irish whiskey. We have 3 TVs. We always show the Barclays Premier League first, and then we'll show the Scottish Premier League, and then during the season we'll show the Gaelic, the hurling. So we get a nice mix. It's a very simple, clean bar. It's not
the Guinness is all right. Guinness is pretty decent.
Bad.
Yeah,
coming from an Irishman, I can't. It's not the worst pint of Guinness you'll ever have in your life.
No,
it's better than pints I've gotten in England.
Yes,
that's for sure.
But also, if you're coming to Florence, for even a couple of weeks, a lot of people come over and they spend 6 weeks here trying to learn Italian. And there's a lovely expat community in Finnegan's. We have people from America, Wales, England, Ireland. Where it's a really, really nice group. And if you're just kind of tired of not having met anyone and you want to just speak English and have a chill few pints, there'll be a man playing darts that will start speaking to you within a few minutes. So
so that's the thing. We're a little darts pub as well. So we have that nice atmosphere where it's kind of It is a quintessential little dive bar, but in the best way possible.
Yeah, there's little pub quizzes like once every 2 weeks. There's whiskey tastings.
Whiskey tastings coming up now as well. So
lots of stuff.
It's a nice little hub as well. I have to say, a lot of the budget accommodation, the hostels and hotels are all up in that area. So a lot of people tend to stay up in that area. It's a little bit away from the centre, about a 10-minute walk from the Duomo itself to the pub. A lot of that's where our first accommodation was. It's just past Finnegan's up on the right hand side. So a lot of budget accommodation would be up on that side of town. And there's a gigantic hostel as well, plus hostel. If anyone's a young traveller, I highly recommend travelling through hostels. So there's a lot of locations up there where people can stay. Hence why a lot of people come into Finnegan's, because it's one of the few bars up that side of town anyway. So people tend to stop in for their drink home, their last one.
And if you come into Finnegan's and you tell Cormac, you'll see him because he's the only big, tall, Irish bearded man in there.
The massive red rosy cheeks.
He might give you a little discount on the first drink.
Oh, I might do. If you mention the podcast now, I might have to. When we get clear buying everyone shots of them out of the cap.
Oh gosh. No. So the next fun bar that I just want to mention very quickly is it's a little Cuban spot. Apparently it's called Antica Panineria.
Antica Panineria SMN.
The name looks absolutely ridiculous outside. You'll know it by there's crazy painted tables outside. We'll link it in the description.
Yeah.
But like there's big paintings of Frida Kahlo and like all mad stuff all over the tables. But the 2 bar staff in there are absolutely cracked. And they're great crack. And you get free crisps.
Yeah.
And we went there kind of maybe 3 times. And by the 3rd time they were giving us, you know, good old discounts on the pints.
We were going there a lot more than 3 times before they gave us the discount, unfortunately. But there's one guy basically who is Fidel Castro's doppelganger.
Yes, and he just walks around, even into the bar, smoking cigars.
You might think I'm being funny, but the man genuinely dresses in a military jacket, the same style cap, glasses, and has a cigar in his mouth at all times.
They're great fun.
I've seen so many tourists sit down at their tables, being confused by the pace of service, because it can be a little bit slow, and they do their own thing. But I recommend staying around because you can meet the craziest locals in all of Florence drinking there.
It's great fun. We've never had a bad night there.
No, never had a bad night there, and they're super welcoming and nice.
Loud music, people dancing.
People watch because you're just kind of on a nice section between the Centrale Market and the train station, so it's kind of high traffic. So you see a lot, and as well, it's the link road to the 2 hostels as well. So there's a lot of people
just near the train station.
It's not far from the train station.
And they do a decent sandwich and little meat platters and stuff. So not mad at those. I think $5.50 for a really big decent sandwich that'll feed you for the day. So highly recommend the food there as well. Not that you'd be eating there, you'd be mostly drinking. I'll let you take over Santo Spirito because I think you have a little soft spot for it.
I love Santo Spirito, Piazza Santo Spirito. It is basically a beautiful square with trees and a fountain in the center, and then each side is just about 6 or 7 bars lined up either side.
So it's south of the river, just near Pitti Palace.
Yeah, so it's just across from the Pitti Palace. If you take one of the main roads directly leading to the Pitti Palace, you'll reach the Santo Spirito area. Basically, not as touristy as the centre. A lot of locals go there. It's a massive place for the aperitivo hour, so from about 5 to 7 o'clock or 6 to 8. And all the bars they all do little tapas. They give you your crisps, your peanuts, everything like that during aperitivo. Some places do a little bit more depending on the price. But it's just a really nice, relaxing area, and it's also
feels almost French, doesn't it?
It does feel a little bit French. It kind of, because it's such a huge area just for seating, that there's so many restaurants and bars literally just lined up one after the other. It makes it really nice that it's like you can go there a few days in a row and go to a different bar every time and sit in a different part of the square. And like it is a fantastic sun trap if people just like having cheap coffees and sitting out in the sun and switching over to Aperol spritzes.
There is also one rooftop bar place there. And there's some cheap, it's a hotel. So there's a rooftop bar there and that's not extortionate. And then there's also a few really, really cheap restaurants around that area as well. So really nice for an evening, I think.
So Trattoria or Osteria Santo Spirito is really famous for being very low priced as well. So that's just on the corner of the square. You won't be able to miss it. And there's actually a lot of beautiful little local restaurants in that area. And some. Do
you want to talk about your favourite thing about Santo Spirito? The markets.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So on Sundays, there is typically a farmer's market mixed in with kind of vintage, just like a Sunday farmer's market, to be honest. They have like a lovely selection. Some weeks they have a fresh food stall that does all the different cheeses, the Tuscan meats. Sometimes there might be an actual food vendor doing like the lampadata, the stomach sandwiches, so like tripe and everything, which is a very famous dish in Florence.
Sometimes there's only about 10 stalls there, and sometimes you go and there's fucking 50 of them, and antiques, and
so it's also very weather dependent.
Yes.
Italians, they're similar to Irish in the sense that the weather's shite, we won't bother today. I know Irish people are a bit more stubborn, where it's like the weather's always shite, so we'll just put up the tent. But Italians, funny enough, if it's a really nice sunny day, it's the same thing here, where it might be too nice for them. They might have to go on a holiday somewhere. But usually, every Sunday in Santo Spirito, I think every second Saturday, or it's every second or third Saturday that switches. But there's also another market on the square.
There seems to be a market there on a Monday as well.
So Cascina Park has one on Tuesdays, and then Piazza Libertà, which is up by past the train station on the way to Finnegan's. They also do one, I believe, every second Saturday.
It's actually just walk around the city centre and you'll run into some kind of a bloody market.
Just keep walking through piazzas and you will find, because Santa Maria Novella, where the train station is, also has I think it's also every second week, every second Saturday. I don't think it's every week.
No, it could be every week in the summer.
No, it could be every week in the summer, because now we're just in an awkward time of like, the tourists are coming back, so a lot of things are reopening fully for summer. Like they change their hours. So now we might have to update people on.
Let's maybe touch on opening hour. Oh no, we'll get through fun first, and then we'll just touch on opening hours. So I'll touch on Fiesole very, very quickly. If you're here in Florence for maybe more than 3 or 4 days, Fiesole again has another so Fiesole is its own city, technically its own city. It's got a beautiful little square and an Irish pub actually up at the top, but it overlooks the whole city, and it's got the Leonardo da Vinci garden up there as well. But yeah, so it's just a really nice kind of feels a little bit countryside. You're up in the Tuscan hills, and it's only maybe 15 minutes on the bus. The bus is only €2. So I'd highly recommend, if you want to do something a bit different for sunset one of the days and you've already done Piazza Michelangelo, to head up there. You won't be meeting people really up there. You'll kind of get your own spot. But
so that'd be the number 7 bus from San Marco.
Yes.
For anyone who's ever going to get on the bus in Florence, mainly San Marco is one of the biggest stations. Yeah. So I say stations, basically squares where the bus.
Yeah. There's Santa Maria Novella where you can get your buses, and then San Marco is the other place. So they're kind of the 2 main places to get them. I also just want to briefly do a little shout out ourselves for the Irish pub tour. Woo-hoo. So we are on Airbnb, but we never really open up the dates. We kind of just take bookings in the pub, but feel free to shoot us an email or submit through the contact form if you wanted to join us on a pub tour. We go to 4 of the best Irish pubs in Florence. We play games. You get a minimum of 4 drinks, and then you get a chance to win loads of shots. And it's just mighty crack, isn't it?
Mighty crack altogether.
And you get to meet us and annoy you.
Show you everything you need to know. Where to go for your fry for the hangover the next day. Yeah. The whole shebang. So we'll bring you around. We'll even teach you how to pour a pint of Guinness if you don't know.
Yes.
The perfect Italian pint.
So yeah, it's €40 for the tour per person. But, the tour lasts over 3 hours, and then you can just go drinking with us for the night.
Absolutely. If you have any questions about that, if it seems complicated, please let us know.
Yes.
As well, in Florence, it's fantastic. They have a Florentine magazine. It is a free magazine that's released at the start of every month that basically updates everyone on what is happening. It's all written in English. It's kind of based on basically expats and anyone from an English background that lives in Italy. So they basically present all of the markets, all of the festivals, all of the concerts, all of the food experiences,
art shows, openings.
Art shows. Yeah. So the Florentine, they usually have their magazines in a range of places. It's a lot of English-speaking, like there's Scandinavian restaurants here, there's the cafes here that are Finnish. So there's a lot of those locations that will have the magazine for you. We also supply them as a pub. You'll find them in a lot of the news agents as well, and the tobaccos tend to sell, some of them are all free, but they tend to give them away as well.
And they have a great website. It's just called theflorentine.net, and all the events will be up there. We just want to touch very briefly on opening hours and times and things like that for in Florence, because it's a little bit odd.
It's complicated, lads, I'm not going to lie. It gets too hot here and everyone decides that they need to fuck off to the coast and just close their shop or their restaurant or their pub for 2 weeks. So
2 weeks, a whole month of August usually.
I was going to say 2 weeks at Christmas, 2 or 3 weeks in the summer, sometimes Easter as well. A lot of them can just F off.
Yeah.
Because we moved into our area in August or late July, August, where we live, all the restaurants were closed.
We thought we lived in a dead town.
In September, then all of a sudden, because it's all underneath just the classic grey shutters, so you don't know there's a restaurant there until the shutters are up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we were surrounded by restaurants and bars.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, during the height of the heat in summer, a lot of the families and locals who run a lot of businesses, they tend to go on their holidays.
Yes.
They love holidays over here. It's the Italian, la dolce vita, the sweet life. They're taking it easy. They make their money. They go to the coast. It's a lot cheaper over here, obviously, so you can do it.
Yeah, essentially don't come in August. It's way too hot. It's up over 40 degrees and half the town is closed down because everyone's got to the coast.
Half the town of Florence are all in the coast towns.
Yeah.
So just go to the coast towns if you want to experience Florence at its best point. That's where all the Fiorentina are.
The other thing then is just that a lot of places will only stay open, and this kind of covers a lot of Italy. A lot of places only stay open until 2 o'clock for lunch. So they might open at 11 or 12, then they close at 2. Then they're closed until maybe 6. Some restaurants don't open again until 7, half 7, 8 o'clock. So get your food into you or get your sandwiches or whatever before 2 o'clock because you're not going to get it after that.
No.
We've been caught out a few times in a few different locations with that because we'd be late risers and so we'd only be having our breakfast at kind of regular lunchtime. But by about 5 o'clock, we're both absolutely starved and they're just nowhere open. So
and they take their religious Sundays here a lot more seriously than Irish people do even.
Yes.
Because everything is closed. So any family-run cafe, restaurant, tobacco shop even are all shut.
Yeah, so get your tobacco on Saturday night.
If you're a smoker, get as much tobacco cigarettes on Saturday night because there's only a few tobaccos in Florence. Well, this covers generally, obviously, all of Italy, seeing that Sundays are just crap for buying stuff. Mm-hmm. But in Florence, there's only a handful of tobaccos that will be open on a Sunday. So just be warned.
So just to let you guys know that, we think Ireland is bad with the 10 p.m. cutoff for off-license sales, but it's 9 p.m. across the board here in Italy. A little workaround, though, is that the shops do stay open until 10, half 10 sometimes, half 9 on a Sunday, 9 o'clock for some places. But if you order through delivery, you can get alcohol at any time up until the shop closes. So just let you know, if you get caught out and you have 10 o'clock off-license time stuck in your head, just bear in mind that it's 9 here.
And as well, like a lot of the alley markets, the mini Indian markets, they will sell you beer afterwards if you're sound and if they know you.
If you've got cash and a bag.
Cash in a bag. They'll let you do it up until about 9:30, 9:45, the absolute latest. Mm-hmm. But just be warned that as well, those alley markets and smaller stores will be nearly charging you double. Mm-hmm. So we recommend if you're buying wine or stuff for your trip, go to the supermarkets, go to the Entecas, the vino shops, but the alley markets will be your most expensive purchase.
Yes. So we're going to touch on a little tourist guide section now, kind of the most famous touristic places to go, galleries, gardens, all that kind of stuff. And we'll just whack through them. And you, Cormac, you can just jump in and say if you like them or not, if it's worth going to. So Ponte Vecchio is a very, very famous bridge. It's in Assassin's Creed. It's a big gold bridge. So it's really cool. It's got buildings on top of the bridge. And
the gold bridge, you mean that they sell gold?
They sell gold. It's not made of gold. Yes.
So I get confused.
But we like Ponte Vecchio for one reason only, and that is because there is only one cross section of the bridge that has a breeze in the height of summer. Florence is in a giant valley, and therefore there is no breeze except for on Ponte Vecchio. But it's super busy during the summer, and don't buy gold from there. It's extremely overpriced. So Ponte Vecchio, you'll definitely cross over it at some stage. If you're coming from the Duomo and want to go to Santo Spirito or Pretty Palace or the Bobbly Gardens, you'll be crossing over it anyway. So Santa Croce is €8 for entry. It's a church and it has all the Ninja Turtles buried in there. Michelangelo, Raphael, all the lads.
Oh, the boys.
Yeah, Dante is in there as well. And there's a little garden out the back, so highly recommend going there.
They also hold concerts in the little courtyard garden during the summer as well.
And the Christmas market is held there in the winter. The Uffizi Gallery, it's the most visited gallery in all of Italy, which is absolutely insane. You can get free entry to the Uffizi the first Sunday of every month, but the queues are absolutely insane. So just be warned. just book a ticket in advance and go on a different day. It's not that expensive. They have so many different works, Michelangelo, Raphael, like there's Caravaggio. It's
the biggest one in Florence.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. So highly recommend going there. The Accademia, again, it's free the first Sunday of every month, if not every Sunday, during the height of summer, and that's where David is, the big owl statue.
Good old David.
We found the Accademia, we just kind of walked in, saw David and walked around very quickly and got out.
Tiny.
So yeah, the Accademia, again, you can get tickets pretty cheap if you didn't want to wait in the queue, but the queue moves so quickly because it's so small. Yeah. So we'd highly recommend just going when it's free, waiting in the queue. You might be waiting 20 minutes, get there either really early in the day or really late in the day. And then you'll just be able to kind of walk in. So the Pitti Palace / the Bobley Gardens, you can choose to just go to the Bobley Gardens by itself if you want, or you can go and do both. You can pre-book tickets, or if you're a resident or if you have a residence card, maybe you could get a nice Italian to give you the residence card for a day, although I doubt it.
We're not suggesting that you break the law to get in.
No. But yeah, it's pretty affordable anyway. I will just say, do not go to the Bobley Gardens in the height of summer. There's no shade, the fountains aren't on, and apparently it looks like a bit of a war zone.
Yeah.
But also don't go in the height of winter because there's nothing in bloom. So if you're coming kind of...
Sweet spot you're looking for, that.
Sweet spot you're looking for, yeah. Either September, October, or kind of April, May. Otherwise, it can just be a little bit rubbish, even though it's still beautiful and palatial to walk around. But wouldn't be paying into it otherwise. Then there's the Duomo and the tower beside the Duomo. You can buy an inclusive ticket for, I think it's €27 for 3 days, and you can get access to the Duomo. You can climb up the tower and you can get into the museum as well.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good, bang for buck. People usually climb up the Duomo, and we would advise not to do that and to climb up the tower instead, because the view from the tower is absolutely stunning. We've heard that when people have climbed up the Duomo, like on the inside, that it's actually extremely narrow. And if you're in any way scared of heights, you won't like going up the Duomo one.
Because basically in the centre, inside the Duomo is where the steps are. So you're looking down into the church, and it's like 60, 70 feet up in the air, maybe 80 feet like inside. So that's kind of scary. And then you're up on top of the Duomo, and it's really narrow, steep stairs.
Yeah.
I think there's more steps in the Duomo than the tower. The tower is 414 steps.
Jesus Christ. Yep. Yeah. And inside the Duomo outside, absolutely beautiful. The Duomo inside, a little bit underwhelming. There's not much in there. So
basically, there used to be a lot of interesting shit inside, and they took it all out and put it into a museum.
So when people come to Florence, they often want to go to the Tuscany Hills, to the lovely vineyards that are around there. And there are loads and loads and loads of bus tours that go and do this. So you can do it in large groups where it's more affordable. You can get it for as cheap as maybe €50 a ticket, and you go to 2 or 3 vineyards and you get lunch, and you might even stop off in a different little town for the morning. But it can go all the way up to as expensive as you want.
Yeah, so you can do one that's I think about €100. You get an 8-kilometer hike. You get 3 vineyards and a lunch at one of the vineyards. So that's like one of the examples. If you're a healthy person who also likes to drink wine, you can do a hike or a cycle. So there's loads of different. It is brilliant in Tuscany that there's so many options for different styles of tours.
There's a horse riding one as well.
Yeah. There's a load of different ones. There's even one that will bring you to the Cinque Terre, park you at one end, hike you through it, and then hit some vineyards on the way back. Because obviously in between both, there's a lot of them. So if you're coming to Florence, obviously it's Chianti Hills and the most famous hills around here. So that's what people usually go for, Chianti Classico. The tours themselves are really good. We have a friend called Stefano who runs one called Out of the Box Florence.
Yes.
So he offers a load of different style tours. So hiking, cycling, day trips to Cinque Terre, or just day trips in the vineyards, lunch included. So
Out of the Box would be the kind of higher tier. You could rent a private car from them even. They'd be your most expensive if you really want to plan something special, maybe if you're on your honeymoon. Or you can go as cheap. The cheapest one that we found is on Get Your Guide, and you're going on a big bus tour with lots of other people. But that works out at maybe like €50. So lots of different options. Limitless, really.
Limitless. So whatever your budget is, you can really kind of chase whatever you want, which is fantastic.
So now we're going to move on to the very exciting segment.
Oh.
which is food.
Glorious food.
We've in this section we've put in a mix of Italian restaurants, and then we've also put in some coffee shops and some alternative foods as
All
well.
of our favourite places.
All of our favourite places, yes. So we'll kick it off with Sabantino's. Sabby Sabs.
Sabantino's. Your cheapest dinner you could possibly get.
It's unreal.
This was in Ireland. It'd be sold out every single night, day,
Yeah.
morning, lunchtime, breakfast, the whole thing. The Sabantino's is a small trattoria, classical restaurant.
South side of the river.
South side of the river. It has a very small menu, about 4 starters, 5 mains, and whatever homemade desserts they're doing that night. Do you want to say how much a half roasted chicken is, love?
Oh, what is it, like €6?
€6.
Yeah, it's unreal. Like
Side of potatoes on the side, roasted potatoes, €2, green beans, €2. So Sabantino's was one of the last, for anyone who knows Anthony Bourdain, he was one of the last places he visited, unfortunately, before he passed in France. So this place has a little bit of a cult following for any tourists who love Anthony Bourdain who come to Florence.
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely love it because, it's really traditional.
It's cheaper to go there than it is to actually buy groceries and
quite
cook.
Literally. It is, honest to God. We went for dinner for 4 of us with wine, 2 courses each, and then I think 2 of us got desserts.
Mm-hmm.
€60.
Yeah, ridiculous.
€60.
Yeah.
So Florence is, if you're worried that it's going to be very, very, very expensive in upmarket, no.
No,
you
there's
find
some
restaurants that are very reasonable.
There's some good places.
The prices here compared to Dublin are insanity.
Night and day. So Sabantino's, they like very traditional. They don't do pizzas, but they do a variation of plain pastas. And if you're a woman now who likes her meat, potatoes, and 2 veg, I'd highly recommend going there.
Yeah.
But just the hours are a little bit strange. So they're only open from Monday to Friday. They're not open on the weekends. They're open from lunch from about 11 until 1:30. And then they don't open again until 7. They're open from like 7 until last table you probably get in there is about 9:30, 10:45. So very, very limited opening hours. There will be a queue no matter what time, especially if you come in the height of summer. There's always going to be a queue. So you'll be waiting outside the door for about a half an hour, I'd say. But if you're looking to do stuff on the cheap, you want a big dinner, definitely go there. It's absolutely great.
Moving on then is Florence is obviously very famous, Tuscany especially for steak, for meat.
Mm-hmm. Has some of the best steak restaurants in the world, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there are a few that are on the top 100 steak restaurants in the world. I think there's 3 possibly in the centre that are officially on the list.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a few that locals have told us should be on the list but aren't.
Yeah.
But San Lorenzo, Trattoria San Lorenzo, which is just off the Medici Chapel, is one place that we love because you can get a meat platter there. Which
€38.
€38 consists of 2 steaks, 2 pork chop, 2 lamb chop, 2
sausages.
Like
big thick sausages, yeah. So yeah, it's I find that meat platter for 2 is really affordable. Especially, some of the steaks for 2 people can cost you like from €80 upwards. So if you're craving meat but you don't want to pay the high prices, San Lorenzo is great. We also went there for lunch. So if you are planning to go to the Medici Chapel, definitely go there for lunch. Their lasagna was absolutely bitchin'. You've had some gorgeous pasta dishes there.
Homemade meatballs there was really good. So another very, very, very good meat orientated restaurant. Very fancy as well inside. It's kind of, modern, contemporary. But the prices reflect quite well, I think.
Yeah, if you want to go for like a fancy dinner out, but don't want to blow the bank, San Lorenzo is great.
Beautiful setting as well. In a good area. 10 minutes can do almost last 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it's just really, really pretty. The staff are absolutely brilliant as well. I must say, every waiter that we've had there, they've all had their own unique charm and have been really lovely. So yeah, cannot highly recommend enough. But again, just if you're going on a weekend or in the height of summer, do book in advance unless you're going for lunch. There's always places for lunch. And they do have outdoor seating in the summertime, which they don't have kind of come September. Yeah. So they have more limited spaces. So yeah, I just popped ahead in at lunchtime and say, can we make a reservation for later on today? Yeah. And the staff are really good about speaking English as well. So you should feel comfortable enough. The next place we'll talk about is the Centrale Market, just to go and visit and get all your touristy bits, and if you have an Airbnb, to go and get your groceries there. But the Centrale Market upstairs has a gigantic food hall. So if you're in a group, or if you're in a couple, or even yourself, if you don't know what you want to get, Centrale Market is really, really good because they have so many options.
So yeah, like upstairs you can get, they have like a cooking school up there as well. So you can actually get cooking lessons up there. You can also get fresh fish, you can get steak, but then you also can get Chinese. There's a dumpling place, there's some sandwich places. There's a really nice mix upstairs. They have a central bar unit as well that actually serves Murphy's Irish Stout, which is madness, $5.50 a pint. It's great.
Yeah, the prices for pints are quite reasonable.
Yeah, Moretti pint and Murphy's pint, I think, are both $5.50. The last time we were there, which is very good for a pint in the mid, right in the middle of of the centre of Florence. It's very good for a pint.
But the setting is lovely. You can just go up to the bar, grab your thing, and then you just grab your trays. It's all long tables. So
they also show sports as well on the weekend. They have a big flat screen TV. They might put the football game on. So I've seen like groups of guys going there and having food and beers and watching the games. So that's another option if there's any big sports on. For
especially for a big group, I think it's very good because everyone can just get what they want. Closed on Sundays.
Closed on Sundays, yeah.
But otherwise, I think it stays open until 11 o'clock at night, which is great. My favourite place in Florence.
Go on, love. Tell them.
Oh, my God.
Tell them about it.
So there are many, 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 many sandwich places.
Around every corner.
Around every corner.
Shop sometimes.
There's some very famous sandwich places. You can see, oh God, what's the name of the one that has queues for miles?
Alviano Antica.
Yeah, I think it's really overrated, to be honest. Like, the sandwiches look amazing and all that, but it's just, I'm not standing in a queue in the height of summer for up to an hour for a sandwich.
Now, that really famous sandwich shop has a second location on a piazza called San Marco, which is a lot quieter than the original.
Yes.
So I would recommend, if you do want to try that sandwich place, just go. That's south of the Duomo, around the Uffizi area. But the one that I think is better because it's smaller queues is north of Duomo in an area called San Marco.
So yeah, if you do want to try out that sandwich, just to say that you tried it, just
go to
this.
If you look on Instagram, anything, Pinterest, like whatever you look at, this sandwich shop will come up.
Yeah.
But go to its other location in San Marco because you'll be in a queue for an outrageously long time.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Outrageously long.
So my favourite sandwich place in all of Florence it's just along the main street. If you're walking from the Duomo to Ponte Vecchio, it's right across from H&M.
And the small leather market.
There's a small leather market, and there's the Lucky Hog. But essentially it's just this little, it's just a little cave, essentially. It's just a little window. They have a big pig lying out the front, a big dead pig lying in the window.
There's no restaurant, lads. There's no door. No. It's just a hatch and a wall. Pork and pork only. Yeah,
so it's just another porchetta, prosciutteria kind of place. We'll list it in the description, the actual name of it, because it can be it's not tricky to find, but it's,
you walk past it very easily if there was a crowd queued outside. You wouldn't notice it. You won't see, because people queue against the window, and then obviously because there's no entrance, it just disappears. So you will find it easily, but
it's almost like a market stall, really. But there's 3 sound lads. They all take turns working there. And porchetta, just if nobody knows, so it's like this roast pork, and then they do their own version of stuffing. So I get the sandwich that has the roast pork, the stuffing, you get a little bit of crackling, and then you get a salsa verde, which is just absolutely amazing. And the bread is unbelievable. What I will say is, once you grab it for takeaway, the bread tends to last about an hour and a half. We've tested this at our little picnic. So if you eat it within an hour and a half, it's absolutely delicious, or else you'll have to reheat it in the oven because it can get a little bit dry. But it's the best sandwich in all of Florence, in my opinion. They're also on Just Eat, I believe. So we'll link their name in the description. But absolutely insane sandwiches. I make Cormac cycle across town sometimes just to go pick up.
It's a pleasure. The sandwiches are worth it.
I'm going to let you take over the next spot because you have a little soft spot for it.
Yeah, so I believe the official name is Antico Trattoria del Tito dal 1925, I think. It's on Via San Gallo, just past the pub I work in.
Let's just say everyone calls it Tito's.
Tito's like the vodka, for any American listeners. Tito's essentially is quite a locals restaurant. People don't really know about it in the terms of tourists do find it, but it's
always seems to be they've gotten a recommendation from someone who was there themselves or was recommended it. It's kind of like a word of mouth restaurant.
If you're in the know, you're in the know, yeah.
If you're in the know, you know. So Tito's, basically, the best way to describe it is it's a classic trattoria style. The staff are all insane.
Mm-hmm.
All the reviews are written on the walls in Sharpies.
Yeah.
They play early house music when we were there. So Barbie Girl came on.
Barbie Girl came on. The chefs were dancing around.
Blue.
Staff were taking.
Yeah. That came it was ridiculous. On the menu it says, don't order meat well done. We won't do it here. It's the tradition. Don't ask for a cappuccino. If you do, we'll charge you €5 million.
Yeah.
On the wall and a sign. It's absolutely amazing.
It's tongue-in-cheek, really fun.
Tongue-in-cheek, very fun. If you don't like the way we do things, there's the fucking door. You know, this is our way or the highway. And I love that type of restaurant because the service is unbelievably quick, fast.
Yeah.
And the best part of the whole thing is after you've had your delicious food or your bistecca fiorentina is that they come down to the table with 2 full bottles, usually a limoncello and an Amaro di Capo, which we'll get into again another day. But Amaro di Capo is a liqueur over here. Amaro means bitter, so they have a few different varieties. So it's really popular after dinner drink. Some people have it before dinner. You know, whatever floats your fancy. But they drop down a whole bottle and shot glasses and you can help yourself. So anyone that I've ever sent up there to come back to the pub has come back pissed.
Yeah.
Because of all the limoncello they've been given. But no, amazing experience. I think it's...
they do great. They do a great La Carne di Malta. So La Carne di Malta. So they do great steak there. They're a famous steak place essentially. But yeah, there's always locals in there. Most of them have okay English. There's a menu in English, I believe, as well.
They have an English menu.
But yeah, I would just recommend. I'd skip out on the appetizers, to be fair, and I'd jump straight in for the old steak or meat or whatever you want. The appetizers, I think you can find better elsewhere. Maybe go to like a little.
Speaking of better appetizers, it'll move us beautifully on.
Yes.
To the next place.
Zaza's.
Trattoria Zaza's.
So Zaza's is located. So Zaza's is the busiest restaurant in Florence.
Yeah.
There's always a queue at the door, but don't worry, it's absolutely massive inside. Absolutely massive.
It's probably 200 and something seater restaurant. I'm not sure exactly.
I'd say
from what
more.
We can see,
yeah,
more. 200 being modest. So when you see a gigantic queue outside, don't worry. They will turn over tables. I think they have 30 staff.
Yeah, it's huge.
So the menu is about 11 pages long. So
it's Gordon Ramsay's nightmare.
Yeah, or dream. I don't know.
It's so long, the menu, but there's something for everyone, and I think that's why a lot of people go there.
That's why it's so popular. Yeah, because it just somebody wants steak, you can go there. Somebody wants a massive selection of pasta, you can go there.
They have a small enough selection of pizzas, to be fair. But
small selection of pizzas, but I can only imagine that's because of the size of the kitchen.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I'd love to see the kitchen, considering how many people they serve daily. I'd say it's an incredible operation.
But our favourite then is, so there's an appetizer it's like a taste of the appetizers for €12 per person. You can just get it on your own, or we tend to get it. If you get 2 appetizers for 3 people, I think that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
But they do bruschetta. They do crostinis with liver pate. They do eggs with truffle. They do
burrata cheese with some olive oil.
Lots of different meats.
They do artichoke, tomatoes. It's one of the nicest rounded appetizers I think we've gotten in terms of.
They do little pork balls.
They do little pork balls. They give you a few slices of meat. They give you a really nice selection, olives and everything. So it's a bit more rounded. We got the one in Tito's, but it was more just meat orientated. Yeah. Which is grand and nice, but it's nice having a variety of different things.
I think if you want to really taste, if you want to taste a few different meat, if it's kind of your first day and you want to taste
everything, you just want a little taste of everything.
And see what you like. Yeah. So
they do all the specialty pastas from each city in Italy have their own pasta dish, each region. So Zaza's tend to do each region's pasta dish, but they also offer doing it in their own. A lot of the menus items will be doubled, but then one of them will be done in a Zaza style, which is just a restaurant putting no swing on things, which is a lovely option to have as well.
Yeah.
Because if you want to try out, because they do Livorno special, which is bacala alla Livornese, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which is cod and a tomato sauce, but they do it, I think, with a little bit of spice. So they just kind of up the ante. So yeah, really good place for variety.
Super central, very, very cheap as well. Again, that makes appetizer is €12, but that's the most expensive by far. Kind of €8-9 for a pasta dish.
Yeah.
You can't blow the budget really there at all. I just want to touch on our last kind of traditional Italian place, which is Trattoria del Orto's. So I think that it's the best steak in Florence that we've tried so far anyway. Really, really nice restaurant. It was super cute. We went there in the middle of winter actually.
Yeah,
and it was just cozy,
really
fairy
nice.
lights. But yeah, it's open for lunch or it's open for a late night dinner. I'd highly recommend going there for a late night dinner. Not as busy. Again, it's on the south side of the river. It's actually only around the corner from Sabatino's.
Yeah, so it's a family-owned run place as well, and the owner actually apparently is quite well known in Florence. He's been in this location for many years.
And he sits at the chef's table beside the kitchen, going in, giving out to them every so often.
No, he's like, it's a really traditional place. The owner seems absolutely lovely. He looks like Gennaro. If anyone ever watched Jamie Oliver's mentor, Gennaro, that's exactly who I thought it was. So I know he's Italian to Italian. And
they have a very strange cardboard cutout of him
outside the restaurant,
which freaks us out every time we go to the shop.
We just think there's a man waving at us, but it's just the owner has his own cutout, which is
but
bit
mad,
bit mad. But
I suppose if he's famous, then. But yeah, no, just another traditional option that again isn't too expensive. But that's where you're going to get your bitchin' steak. So.
Yeah, and as well as lovely setting inside the restaurant, very quiet side of town, so worth the trip.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know we're kind of focusing on the south side of the river a little bit, but that's just what we know the best. And again, the prices are just so much cheaper. Just avoid the Duomo. Avoid a 500-meter radius around the Duomo. The restaurants aren't as nice, and if they are nice, then they're super upscale, and they're going to be like costing you hundreds of euro for a meal.
Yeah. The little area around the Centrale Market isn't too bad. There's some actual, when you leave Zaza's, if you're in Zaza's, there's some like lovely little bars. There's a Sabor Cubano, which is an authentic Cuban bar run by a family that just do like the authentic rum cocktails. So like there are options for cheaper, but directly around the Duomo is tourist trap central. Yes.
What I would say is if you're looking at the map of Florence, you want to pick out Santa Maria Novella Church, and anything south, north, or west of that job. Anything that's east of that is going to be a little bit more expensive because you're coming into the Duomo and stuff. So, there's lots of places around Santa Maria Novella, just a little bit south of Santa Maria Novella, between Santa Maria Novella and the river. And there's loads of places for lunch that you can get like lunches, like 2 courses and a glass of wine for like €12. So I'd highly recommend going around that area. But if you're a lot of people do the traditional, they go to Rome for a few days and they go to Florence and they go to Venice. Halfway through, you're going to get sick of pastas and pizzas. You might think you won't, you will. And so we have an excellent recommendation, which is...
The ultimate answer.
The best Indian food that we have tried in all of Italy. There's 2 very good Indian restaurants, actually, in Florence. One is called Crown of India, and it's based up just behind the back of the train station. Mm-hmm. Really nice restaurant. Would highly recommend going in and sitting in there.
Sit-in restaurant. Really, really lovely sit-in restaurant, I have to say.
Again, lovely mixed appetizer. They do like loads of different samosas and all that kind of stuff.
Pora and stuff.
And onion bhajis. So highly recommend the mixed appetizer starter from them. A little bit more expensive, we'll say. So you're gonna be paying the same price as you would for like a traditional proper traditional Italian meal. But if you want to be cheap and cheerful, or if you have an Airbnb or a hotel room and you're dying and you just want to get some takeaway or delivery, New Delhi is the spot. I'll let you take over the menu.
Well, it's one of those places. It's a tiny, tiny restaurant. There's 4 staff. They're all family. Dad is head chef. Brother is sous chef. Mother and daughter run the front. Little picnic metal tables inside the restaurant. Mm-hmm. Very, very old school, like traditional kind of, like, oh, this place looks like crap on the inside. But that's how you know that the food coming out of the kitchen is just
it's so
amazing.
Good.
So like your ghost lamb curry, chicken korma, chicken tikka masala, lads, it's just class.
It's
like
so
the best.
good.
I haven't tasted better food in Ireland for Indian. Absolutely,
No, not
Like,
at all.
this
I
is
can't. I
way-
can't eat Indian anymore when I go home. 'cause
No,
I'm like,
because this has ruined it now.
yeah. And I would actually say, like, from someone who has eaten a lot of Indian food and has eaten a lot of Indian food in Birmingham and also Edinburgh randomly. So I would highly recommend just going to New Delhi. The food is absolutely unreal. Your curry bases with your meat are going to set you about €9. 8.50 to 9.50 depending on if you get lamb or chicken. And then we would recommend getting a vegetable biryani and sharing that between 2 people if you want like a really nice kind of rice base as well. But they do all the different naans. They don't do onion bhaji there, just FYI. But there's plenty of other deliciousness that makes up for it. The lamb curry, just
the jiraloo, the lamb curry, everything there. It's really, really authentic Indian comfort food.
And we'll say that they know we get it. We don't get it so often. Like we might get it like once every 3 weeks.
Yeah,
but the guy knows us.
The guy knows us.
He
now,
waves at us on the street when we walk past.
Because we're probably the only people that ring and order in English.
Yeah, although we are getting better at ringing in Italian, but they do have pretty good English there as well, I will say. So, if you're looking for a bit of a change of pace and maybe just want to check out that side of the river and you're sick of Italian food, then please go there because they're so nice.
Yes, they're lovely. And also, if you're also sick of Italian coffee, we have another option for you in the terms of Wild Buns Bakery, which is a Scandinavian-style coffee shop that only opened up late last year.
Mm-hmm.
They were very, very popular pop-up, and basically their bakery style was used for a lot of the restaurants around, so they opened up their own last year. So if you want a little change, they do all of the like cinnamon buns.
They do cinnamon. They do like traditional Scandinavian pastries there.
Lots of cinnamon, caramel, chocolate, savory and sweet. They also do like a breakfast fried bagel. Yeah. So it is homemade sourdough. They do some brown bread. So it is authentic Scandinavian, but a nice option as well. Nice change. If you're somebody that likes an oat cappuccino or anything like that, they're one of the better places. A lot of Italian traditional coffee shops will only really have soya milk as a backup. So if you're looking for oat milk, especially good quality oat milk cappuccino or latte or anything, I recommend Wild Buns. Yeah,
Wild Buns is great. I do just want to touch on for the end of the food section is, especially for American listeners out there, is you might be expecting to see your chains here. Like your McDonald's, your Starbucks, your like KFC, kind of, those chains. And I will just say, number one, there's no KFC whatsoever here. There is a McDonald's here. And the McDonald's is pretty okay quality, but it's right near the train station. And there's also a Starbucks in the train station, but that's it. So
and a Burger King just up the road from McDonald's.
Yeah.
All of the big chains are 20, 30 meters
from the train station.
So that area is
more so the Florence City Council, they are very, very strict on, Starbucks and McDonald's have tried to come into Duomo Square. They've tried to come into Santa Maria Novella, and the council are just not having it. That's not what they want for their city. But they do allow within a certain radius of the train station for these chains to be there. Yeah. So just to say that if you're a fussy eater or if you're traveling with somebody who is a fussy eater, that those are options. We don't recommend them. Obviously you're in Italy once in a lifetime kind of thing. Yeah. So,
but if you're on a long haul trip,
creature comfort,
and you want that little creature comfort, there are options. There's plenty of options.
Yeah.
There's even a Hard Rock Cafe in the Duomo Center. Like that's one of the restaurants that's obviously very popular with Americans when they want to try and watch sports or like any baseball, football games that are on.
Yeah, I'll just say, as opposed to like Rome has KFCs and Burger Kings and all those like on every corner, they don't really have that in Florence. So just be warned.
Florence is a lot more traditional, and in the sense as well, like they haven't let the company Lime set up any bicycles or scooters here. They've only allowed 2 to kind of obviously to make less bicycles on the streets and pollute the street because people in Rome hate it.
Yeah.
And so they didn't allow them into Florence. So Florence is a little bit more stricter than trying to keep their traditional heritage alive in the sense of, supporting local. And there are a lot of local family-run restaurants, find places that have waiters and waitresses that have been there for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Like even Samantino's, I think that the two ladies that run it are 80 years old.
Yeah.
Or 177. I don't know. It's so hard over here.
But I will say it's, we're on kind of a different, because Cormac works, in a bar and it's late nights and everything. And I've always worked in events. So we kind of are on a different shift than many people. We would only be getting up at around like 11 o'clock in the morning. If you're an early riser and you are starving by lunchtime, there are so many places that you can go and get 2-course lunches that will fill you up for the majority of the day. So I just say there's limitless places to go for lunch, and just look for the one that has a little printout sign saying one preemie, 1 secondie, and 1 glass of wine or a coffee, and it's €12 or 15 or whatever. They're the places you want to be going to. They're filled with Italians, and you'll probably see a queue out the door, but they'll all let you in at about 12 o'clock. So we're going to do our little scoreboard, Cormac. Transport.
I'd have to go pretty high with the transport here. I know we struggled for taxis a little bit at the start, but once you kind of know the systems and the crack, I think Florence is a solid, I'd say 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with a 9 out of 10, and simply taxis were just such a pain for us, but once we downloaded that taxi app, it was way, way handier. Also, everything is very walkable, and I'm someone who does not like walking, especially in the heat. But in terms of transport, as Florence as a location in Italy to come to, there's so many options for day trips or for overnight stays. So
like there's Bologna Airport, 38 minutes train away. There's Pisa Airport, 1 hour. There's Florence, that's a 20-minute tram. There's a lot of options, which is brilliant for people coming into the city, obviously. For getting around, it is walkable, but there's also ride Movi bicycles and scooters. I think there's actually 2 other companies as well that do all that. So if you do enjoy your scooter ride around with your bikes, it is very easy. Florence is a huge cycling city, so there's cycle lanes, parking locations, everything that you require. So it's really simple to get around once you have it down. Once you understand the triangle system and where the cycle tracks are, you'll have no problem at all.
So for food, I'm going to give food a 10 out of 10. There's so many different options. You can go as cheap as you want. There's brilliant Asian food here. And also it's got its classic Florentine steak, which I love. So yeah, I have to give food just a 10 out of 10. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I definitely go 10 out of 10 as well. My only, not even complaint, it's if you have an Airbnb, it's brilliant because seafood in the market, Centrale Market and San Ambrogio is fantastic, but there's not as many seafood restaurants in Florence, obviously because it's very niche based. And so if you do like your seafood, there's less options in Florence unless you know 1 or 2 restaurants, which we'll link. But for food, yeah, definitely 10 out of 10. There is an unbelievable variety. But just for me, it's just lacking on the fish.
Seafood,
on the seafood scene. But obviously, if you're traveling to Italy, you want to hit the coastal towns for seafood anyway.
Accommodation. I'm going to give accommodation a 7.5 out of 10, and that's because we haven't tried very many Airbnbs here, so we'll let you know once more friends start coming here and everything like that. But we just found we've had 1 or 2 bad experiences with hotels, but definitely hostels, Airbnbs, the way to go.
Yeah. I would probably go 7 on accommodation myself. A lot of the hotels here are very, very premium hotels, but obviously quite expensive. We've tried to help friends book nights here in hotels that are €500-600 a night. So Airbnb definitely are a better option going forward.
Yeah, so you can come and stay with us we have 2 single beds. So
we'll give you a good price, lads.
If you get stuck, lads,
we'll you know yourself. Don't tell any Irish people that we have a place for them because they'll be over here tomorrow.
I know, they'll literally move in with us, sure. Look. Fun. So I'm going to give fun a 9 out of 10. There's so many cultural things to do. There's always things happening here. I mean, it is one of the cultural capitals of the entire world. My only one thing that, and, I'm getting a little bit on in years now. So that one point I can't, I can give or take it, but it's that it is not a huge party town. Last drink calls are usually about 2 o'clock, unless you want to go to like a very young hip nightclub or whatever, and even then they're really lacking. So it's not a huge party town. It's not a huge it's a daytime drinking town, very good at
aperitivo town for sunset.
Yes.
But I understand what you mean. For nighttime, there's a couple of locations that cater for the American students that are very heavily based in Florence. So obviously those areas are 18, 19, 20-year-olds who've never drank in their own country before.
Yeah.
So it can be obviously a little bit messy. A lot of fun if you're looking for it, but a little bit messy. So there's bigger students. Bologna itself, 38 minutes away, is a better student town, I think, for
great if you want to go out.
Yeah, exactly. If you want a good night out, Bologna is fantastic for a bit more student-based.
And then overall value for money. Again, I'm going to give it about an 8.5. You can go as high tier as you want. You can go as low tier as you want. Pints overall, if you're a pint drinker, you shouldn't come to wine country. So all I'll say is jump on the El Prosecco, jump on the red wine, jump on all that. You'll be paying €3, €3.50 a glass. That's the way to go when you come to Florence. You can get a really decent bottle of wine out from anywhere from €11. It goes all the way up.
And it goes all the way down as well. You can go to the shop and get a bottle of Prosecco.
$1.99. $1.99.
Value for money, I would go for an 8.5. I think there's a lot of tourist traps, but once you start to know them, it is very affordable. Overall, yeah, there are more expensive tastes in Florence. It's still very old money. All the boys are here. They're all based here. So there is a lot of expensive stuff, but once you start, and we will link absolutely everything, all the little tricks that we have in the Excel sheet. So you'll be able to see like with places to go, San Spirito and stuff like that, a little bit cheaper. But value for money overall, I think 8.5. It is a very adaptable city in terms of what you can do. You can get caught if you go to the centre around the Duomo. Places are going to be expensive, but once you do a little bit of research and start realizing kind of where the cheaper places are, you can actually have a really, really, really affordable time.
So that's been the Florence episode. Thanks so much for listening. We'll probably end up doing another Florence episode at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
And season 2 is actually all about our move to Florence and everything that you would need to do to move to Italy. And we'll probably have more tips all the time as we're learning more. So make sure that you're subscribed and all of that.
We'll take you through everything we can learn.
And again, we have the 2 spare beds, lads. So if you get caught out, you're more than welcome.
Let us know.
We're Jane and Cormac. We hope you enjoyed our Florence episode and come back next time when we'll be talking about the next leg of our trip, La Spezia and the Cinque Terre. If you liked our podcast, then please subscribe and please give us a 5-star review. It's free and takes just a couple of seconds. You can follow us on our socials at Alt Living, and you can download our Excel sheet with all of our accommodation, restaurant, transport, experience and budget details for our 6-week holiday on altliving.com. See you next time, guys.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.